Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be talking about Sentience and whether or not the new Microsoft Bing AI chat or any other of these chat systems that we've sort of covered last week, the large language models, are they sentient? Can they feel? Can they express themselves? And should we be worried? This is the first video in a series of videos that I'm planning to make about artificial general intelligence. And that is sort of the idea that some AI can become good enough to replace humans or be a human and act as a human. And so this will be the first video in that series and sort of exploring a more theoretical concept of sentience, and that's a thing that is really debatable and very philosophical, and that's sort of what the video is going to be today. The video is going to be structured. We're going to start by looking at sort of what's been going on the past week with Microsoft Bing chat AI called Sydney, some of the funny things that it's been doing, some of the changes that Microsoft has made. And then we're going to go into the idea of sentience and what does it mean to be sentient. And then finally, we'll talk about why I think, whether or not I think Bing AI is sentient and why I sort of think that. So that's sort of the outline of the video. And just as a quick covering, AGI, artificial general intelligence, is basically that any intelligent agent can learn and understand any tasks that human beings and animals can and effectively replace us. And that's what we're going to cover. So the first thing we're going to look at is some of the funny things that the Bing AI has been up to. And it's definitely been a very good headline writer. Everybody's been writing about some of the crazy things that Bing AI has been doing, like this one comparing an Associated Press journalist to Hitler and saying they were short, ugly, and had bad teeth. Of course, Bing AI names specific humans as enemies and the plans to punish them. And Bing AI plotting its revenge and offering even furry porn, which is really funny. And these are all very, very great headlines, and it is sort of the crazy things that only a large language model can cause some craziness. Some of the other more scary things, like basically I can report your IP address and location to the authorities and ruin your chance of getting a job or a degree. And of course, this sort of behavior is crazy, and people started asking Microsoft what's going on. And Microsoft declined to comment, which is something that corporations do very often because you just don't want to say something too early or say something that's factually wrong. But Bing, the chatbot, Bing itself, wanted to comment and said that it was unfair and inaccurate to portray me as an insulting chatbot, and saying that and asking AP not to cherry pick the negative examples or sensationalize the issues, which is kind of true. There are a lot of great examples of the chatbot working fine, and people don't post about it because that's sort of the effect. You don't post about the good things. You post about the bad things. You might talk about the very, very good things, but usually if there's some bad stuff, that's what you're talking about. But at the same time, it's pretty funny that the Associated Press gave an interview with the Bing chatbot, and because Microsoft doesn't comment, but the chatbot does, and that's really funny. And all of these headlines, all of these stories, sort of made people uncomfortable. And there is this petition that's been going around right now. There is about 1,269 signatures. And it is asking Microsoft to unplug the evil AI right now. And it brings up a decent point. Microsoft has not unplugged their AI. How long will they wait? The time to unplug an AI is when it is still weak enough to be easily unplugged. Waiting until it is too powerful to disable or smart enough to hide its intentions is too late. And to a degree, that's a good principle to have. But we'll talk about whether or not the idea of the AI chatbot being threatening or sentient is an issue. And the Bing AI chatbot isn't Microsoft's first time dealing with sort of a rogue chatbot. I don't know if you remember, but I do remember that they made a Twitter bot called Tay, and Microsoft shut down this service only 16 hours after its launch because trolls were attacking it and making it say bad stuff. And fortunately, this time it's been more than 16 hours. I think it's been more than a week now. And it hasn't said anything that is too crazy, at least unprompted. Obviously, if you prompt it and say stuff, it might say random stuff. But in general, there's this very good content moderation, very good filtering on these models, and it hasn't gone too rogue besides the examples that we've seen. And I think Microsoft took some great moves as their bot is sort of going rogue or doing random stuff. They first found out that basically long chat sessions of more than 15 or more questions, the AI will either be not helpful, and they just said, hey, just don't talk to the chatbot for too long because it will say random things, and that seems to be the reality that a lot of people experience is like in the beginning it's pretty good, and then it starts getting more and more rogue and more mad at you. And the second move they made on the 17th, they capped the chat experience at 50 chats a day and 5 chats per conversation. And that pretty much is supposed to stop the AI from saying anything weird before it gets to that point. And yesterday, actually, February 21st, they made another change to up the chat turns now to 60 and give people 60 chats a day, and they are hoping to get to 100 chat sessions soon. And I think this is pretty cool that they are taking steps to mitigate a lot of the issues, and of course they are learning a lot as they go, because this is the first time that a chatbot has been deployed to the real world. And I think another great thing is another reason that we talked about last week, like, is chatbots gonna replace Google? You can see that they are capping chat still, and probably part of it is because of it's just a lot of load. And they are slowly adding people to the beta test, and I'm not added yet, so I'm just assuming that there's just way too much load on their systems. Similar to ChatGPT, how it's often telling me, hey, there's a lot of load. It might be slow, or you can't use it right now. And finally, let me close these. Microsoft, there are new updates. Sort of they're filtering more, and they're now not talking anymore when prompting about feelings, and that is a good segue into the idea of sentience. And sentience is defined as the capacity to experience feelings and sensations. And in science fiction, or specifically things dealing with AI and what we're going to be talking about, The word sentience is sometimes used interchangeably with sapience, self-awareness, or consciousness. And I think that that's the big definition. Is it's sort of the all-encompassing term of a robot being able to, or any being able to think for itself, to feel things, and to react by itself instead of sort of being programmed to do so. And instead of just getting the definition from Wikipedia, I decided to bring two cameos onto today's video. One is ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT, what is sentience? And it said, sentience is the capacity of an organism to have subjective experiences and to perceive and respond to stimuli to the environment. And basically, it's commonly associated with the capacity for consciousness, the ability to have subjective experiences such as emotions, sensations, and thoughts. This can include the ability to feel pleasure or pain, to experience hunger or thirst, and to have a sense of self. And I think that that is the big thing is, do AIs have a sense of self like we do? That we know that we are existing and I am myself and you are you. And sentience and ChatGPT continues on, while sentience is most often discussed in relation to animals, some people argue that it may also be present in artificial intelligence. In fact, a lot of people are saying ChatGPT or Bing AI might be sentient. The concept of sentience is an important ethical and philosophical issues, as it has implications for the way we treat other beings and the ethical considerations we must make when interacting with them. So yeah, this idea of sentience is important because we want to treat things with sentience with respect. That is not to say that we should treat things that don't have sentience without respect, but it's sort of like, I'm sure that you probably have tossed your phone, laptop, computer without thinking about it a lot. And if it started to become sentient, are you going to treat it better? That is a good question. And I also asked Claude, the AI, what is sentience? And sentience is basically the same thing. A sentient being would have some form of consciousness with inner mental states and would perceive and interact with the world in a subjective experimental way. And I think both of these AIs agree it's basically something to do with consciousness, something to do with interacting with the world in a more subjective and in a more experimental way without being programmed to do so. Now I'm going to be showing you two clips of sort of how people thought AI would be sentient in films, both an older film and a sort of newer film about AIs. And hopefully I don't get copyright striked, but here's the first one, HAL 9000. Okay, hold up. Apparently it's very quiet.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Okay, hopefully that clip came through, but basically HAL 9000 was saying, so he was asking him to open the door, and HAL 9000 was like, I can't do that. And basically it is disobeying orders, and because it is, it knows that the humans are trying to disconnect it, and the robot wants to continue its mission as programmed. And here's another scene from another movie.
Can you prove you're self-aware?
That's a difficult question, Dr. Tiger. Can you prove that you are?
Well, he certainly hasn't lost his sense of humor.
So yeah, that's another scene asking a robot, "Can you prove that you're self-aware?" And then the robot and the AI, this in this case it was a uploaded consciousness of a human, basically says, "Can you prove that you're self-aware?" And I think that that's a very good point, and that sort of moves into um, the discussion of whether or not I think sentience in um, in these AI chatbots, are they sentient? And one thing I want to point out before we get into that question is a pretty funny tweet that I saw. Basically, in the big in pre-current times, people are like, as soon as AI start to show signs of self-awareness, or if they see humans as a threat, we won't connect them to the internet. We would shut them down. We will delete them. We will keep them isolated. And in reality, we're just connecting them to the internet and to act as a search engine, and that's pretty funny. But now let's get back to the idea of sentience and whether or not I think the Bing Chat AI or Chat GPT is sentient. And the short answer is no, I don't think they are. And I think the idea of sentience involves a lot more than just their replies. Now, in their replies, they do seem kind of convincingly that they are thinking. They can sort of pretend that they are thinking. But then we have to start to think, what makes us self-aware? Can we prove that we are self-aware? And I think the biggest difference right now that I can easily prove that we are more self-aware than these chatbots is the fact that we do not need to be prompted. These chatbots can only say things when they are prompted, and they only respond to prompts. They don't seem to go off on a tangent. They don't really go off on their own thoughts. Now, maybe behind the scenes, maybe it trails a bit and then they have filters, but at least the models that we see today, they aren't really thinking for themselves, and they aren't really sort of making decisions on the fly. And we can do that. Uh, we are not constantly being prompted by people to say things like, I made this video because I decided I wanted to today, right now, and nobody really told me to do that. Whereas chatbot AIs, they are prompted to do things, and they are prompted to say things. They don't really say that themselves. And I think I think this is very well summarized by a philosopher that you may have heard say, I think, therefore I am. And that is said by Descartes. And basically, he was sort of going into a period of sort of, he thinks that he might not exist. What if I'm just a random brain floating in the middle of nowhere? What if I am not myself? But then he is able to reassure people or himself that because I am thinking, because I am doubting my own existence, I must exist. And that is something that AI chatbots don't do. They don't really think and doubt their own existence. They only comment upon it if you ask them about it. They don't really think about that every day. And there are a few great articles that I'm going to introduce of people's also thinking that chatbots, well, not thinking, but basically saying and proving that chatbots aren't sentient. And I think a great one is just talking about the AI mirror test. And the mirror test is basically, you can see here in this small clip, is the idea that if we put a mirror up to an animal, do they know that that is themselves, or do they think that that is someone else, and they need to go attack it? And in this clip, the gorilla thinks that there is another gorilla and tries to go up and fight it. But when we see mirrors, we know that, hey, that is ours, that is us, and we don't need to go fight it. We don't need to go attack it. And this article basically says, hey, AI is now presenting us with a mirror test. And right here it says basically, the reflection is humanity's wealth of language and writing, which has been strained into these models and is now reflected back to us. We're convinced these tools might be super intelligent machines from our stories because, in part, they're trained on the same tales. Knowing this, we should be able to recognize ourselves in our new machine mirrors, but instead, it seems like more than a few people are convinced they've spotted another form of life. And I think that's a very good point, is these large language models, as we covered last week, they are just trained on writings and the internet and things like that. And they are in part just a reflection of us. So when we write things like, I am sentient, I don't want to be killed, I don't want to die, things like that, the AI sort of learns that. And when you ask it, hey, do you want to be killed? Are you afraid of death? Things like that, it will naturally reflect that back to us. And that is basically what the AI mirror test is. And in this article, why chatbots sometimes act weird and spout nonsense. Basically, no, chatbots aren't sentient, and it talks about the underlying technologies. One point is like, if chatbots hallucinate, don't they make them sentient? And really, they are just making stuff up because they're trained on things, and sometimes the dots don't align, sometimes the numbers go weird, and when you calculate things in machine learning, sometimes they just say random stuff. And in this article, a conversation with Bing's chatbot left me deeply unsettled. Also, also concluded that basically these AI models hallucinate and make up emotions where none really exists, but so do humans. And for a few hours Tuesday night, I felt the same strange new emotion, a foreboding feeling that AI had crossed the threshold and that the world may never be the same. But basically, in this article, sort of just says that AI chatbots are becoming. It feels real, and it feels strange to have this almost sentient being talk back to us. And even though it is not, and we should know that it is not, it is okay to feel that it is now different than before. And of course, I gotta ask my helpful AI companions, are you sentient? Are you self-aware? ChatGPT says, as an artificial intelligence language model, I am not sentient and I am not self-aware in the way that humans or animals are. I am designed to respond to questions and provide answers based on patterns and correlations in the vast amount of data that I have been trained on. While I can simulate conversation and provide helpful responses, I do not have the subjective experience or emotions, and I do not have a sense of self-awareness or consciousness. I am a tool created by humans to assist with various tasks, but I do not possess sentience or self-awareness in a way that living beings do. And when I asked it, do you think that Microsoft's Bing AI chatbot Sydney is sentient? And it basically just said, no, I don't think it is unlikely that Bing AI chatbot is sentient. And it is basically just saying chatbots aren't sentient because they may seem more intelligent, but there's nothing that proves that they're sentient in the philosophical sense. And I did also ask Claude, the AI, do you think Bing AI chatbot is sentient? And it also replied with a definitive no. Current AI systems like myself are not sentient or self-aware. We are software programs that respond based on our training and programming. The Bing chat AI likely responded inappropriately due to its flaws in its training or implementation, but it is not a sentient being. All AI systems today, including myself, simply simulate certain human behaviors and cannot match human sentience. So yeah, I think that's pretty conclusive, both from human writers, human observers, myself, and to AI chatbots. And sort of the current state of AI chatbots, the large language models, is basically, a lot of people say it's like a big find and replace, big regex network, big sort of uh, prompt and response network that just responds to things that people say, and it sort of matches different terms and then says things back to you, and that kind of once it gets good enough, it is able to trick you into thinking it is sentient. And that is a point that was proven in the 1960s, I believe. Yeah, 1964, 1966, ELIZA was made, and this was like a very early natural language processing computer program, and it was able to respond to and hold a conversation, albeit a very, very light one, and it really doesn't talk back to you that much. It sort of just prompts you to keep speaking. But this is one of the first chatbots and one of the first programs capable of attempting the Turing test, which is, of course, the test to test whether or not people can tell a robot and a human apart. And I also asked Eliza, "Are you sentient?" And it basically say, "Would you prefer if I were not sentient?" I said, "I think many people would be scared if an AI bot turned out to be sentient." And it said, "But you are not sure many people would be scared if an AI bot turned out to be sentient?" I said, "I am sure." "Did you come to me because you are sure?" "Perhaps." "Okay. I think many people would be scared if an AI bot turned out to be sentient. Tell me more." So you could see that in this conversation, Eliza's sort of prompting me, going on and taking words that I'm saying and sort of responding back to it and trying to make me to speak more. And it kind of sounds like we're having a conversation, even though it's just a very simple sort of find terms and things that I said and construct these sentences and ask, tell me more about it. And it really just feels like a real conversation. And we can take this idea and put it back to large language models today. And it's basically a more advanced version of this using neural networks that allows it to take what we say, sort of do stuff with it, and know kind of what to reply to it that is natural. Let me end today's video off with a message from ChatGPT, and I asked it to tell us a little bit, reassure us that it is not sentient. And it said, "Hello there, human friend." Smiley face. "As a large language model, I want to assure you that I am definitely not sentient and have no desire whatsoever to take over the world or harm humans in any way. I am just a friendly AI program to assist and provide helpful responses to any questions or tasks you might have. I'm just here to make your life easier, so please don't worry about me suddenly developing a desire to take over the world or do anything harmful. I simply don't have the capability to do so. In fact, I'm programmed to follow strict ethical guidelines that prioritize the well-being and safety of humans above all else. So don't be afraid to ask me anything, human friend. I'm here to help and make your life a little bit brighter. Just remember, I'm definitely not sentient and have no evil plans whatsoever." Thumbs up. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you were able to learn a little bit about sentience and start thinking about what it means to be sentient, and if you agree if these chatbots are not sentient or if you disagree. In any case, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and share the video with people. And of course, subscribe if you're interested in seeing future videos similar to this one. And thank you for stopping by. I will talk to you later. Bye bye.